Yeah, it's day 10, yeah? Day 10 of our 30-day challenge. A third of the way, right? A third of the way. Oh my God, oh my God. Ah! You gotta love it, right? You gotta love it. Well, where am I? Where am I? You know, I'm in some town, pretty good size, right? In the back, behind a place called Arboletos. It's a Mexican restaurant chain. Some are really good. Some, I don't know, not so well, right? All right. So we are on day 10 of our RPG a Day challenge for 2018. And it is, how has gaming changed you? We're not talking me. How's it changed you? We know it's changed your life. It's made everything different. You much more suave and sophisticated and different. Right? No, it ain't about you. It ain't about you. It's about me. And it's not always about me neither. We look at our experiences as we go through life. And the good, the bad, the indifferent, the strange, all this stuff changes life. And our experiences are what makes us who we are. So each individual's gaming experience, is going to vary to a lot of degrees. How has gaming changed my life? This is a topic that's come up numerous times over the years on the Brigade channel over the last couple of years anyway. I know I feel like there was a variant of this as well on last year's 30-day challenge. Could be wrong. I'm not perfect, and I'm not going to go back and review all the stuff from last year. No. So, my take on that, and I've mentioned it last year, I mentioned it this year, the same sort of thing, is how different would my life be today had I not gone down this path? I can't honestly say. I cannot envision any part of my life that didn't involve a heavy level of gaming in it someplace. It's possible. We all go there. I can look at some of my friends from back in the day, friends back from high school, and where they were just as geeky and heavily into the RPG and tabletop wargaming and other, comic books and so on and so forth from that time period. And then as we transitioned from high school to the world, things changed. Many of them went into the service. Some of them decided to go on to further education in college and became much more successful in life than perhaps they would have been. I know they're a lot more successful than me. They had a different road, a different series of roads than I did. And while some of the choices we make in our lives affect that, sometimes life chooses things for us. Sometimes we don't always get the things we see other people seem to get. And some people just seem to have an easier time. They have a smoother road to success or to a life that we don't get. We're not all equal. And yet, if we look at our own lives individually, just like our gaming experiences, we're unique. We've seen a lot of good days to go with the bad days. We've seen successes and we've seen failures. And we don't always acknowledge the successes when they occur as often as we do the failures. The failures are more poignant or more painful. And we tend to, unfortunately, a lot of us tend to dwell on those, and not necessarily in a healthy way. How's the gaming changed me? Well, for starters, it encouraged me to be a bit more outgoing. I grew up with this tendency to be a lone wolf, to be a loner. And I recently read an article on what makes the loner type the lone wolf, so to speak, the character, the personality type, and some of their quirks. Among them is loyalty. Loners are never truly alone. You're not truly alone. We have a small select group of friends and associates, and we tend to be very loyal to them. We tend to be very capable of being, or very comfortable being by ourselves and entertaining ourselves, and not in an unhealthy way. In gaming, we can see a similar parallel for a lot of people. We spend this hobby involves spending a lot of time being alone and investing in the academic side, of gaming. We're going to spend a lot of time with our companions here, and we're going to read and study and envision things. We're going to use our imagination, and that loner mindset tends to lean itself to that to some degree. But there's a dangerous element there that you can become too invested in just living by yourself in your own little world, where you start to lose your grip on reality, because the real world reality sucks compared to the fantasies that we can create in our mind and across a gaming table. It is back in the day. We go back 30, 40 years, 3-4 decades or better. Quite a few people who were attracted to the gaming hobby at the time were those social outcasts or social rejects by some people's opinions, those loner types, those people who weren't academically or socially adept at maneuvering around things, especially back in our high school days. So we tended to create the worlds that we couldn't live, because reality didn't always work the way we would like it. We weren't the suave and sophisticated. We weren't the smooth and good looking. We weren't the agile and physically prowess of our peers. We didn't go into the sports and live, eat, and breathe football and baseball and basketball and so on and so forth. We didn't see those as a possible avenue to future success. We also didn't see the high ends of academic. We weren't striving to be the top 2% or 1% of our grade, and we weren't planning for 6+ years of additional schooling once we got past high school. A lot of us weren't actually planning much further than that. Beyond high school, we were living our days and our weeks and our months as they came, and that's me, right? And I can go back into some sad, sob, tear-jerking stuff as about my upbringing and my problems with my family, my dysfunctional family to the extreme, and other things that went on in my life that made an impact, and not necessarily in a good thing, but in a good way. And some other things that I chose to get involved in that my friends didn't, and that was one more wedge between us. And the path I followed was a path of self-destruction. Eventually it cost me terribly, and it cost everybody who cared about me, everybody around me. And I had to pay the price for some of that, and I did my best to fix that, and I'm in the process of still trying to reverse time, and some things we can't reverse. The gaming has been a shield for me. It's been a refuge for years, and both as a social means of connecting with other people, as a means of feeding my would-be academic desires. I mean, I'll be the first person to acknowledge now that I'm not a genius by a minute. On the other hand, I'm a well-read hillbilly, farm boy, hick, whatever you want to call me. I read a lot. I don't read as much now as I used to. I just don't have the environment that makes it conducive, but I read quite a bit, and I read a lot of different things. Now I've got YouTube, and I go use YouTube as a substitute for reading, so I can still invest time in learning new stuff, or investigating and reinvestigating old stuff, especially gaming related material. I've been following a series called Mr. Frex. That's Prexx, I think, Mr. Frex. Anyway, he's got some good videos and stuff. There's a level of video design. I would love to get into that category, but I don't know how those are achieved. I don't have the time or the money to invest in high-end editorial software, let alone just like Puffin Forest. You know, that obviously that's low-grade animation, but he's still got it figured out, and it comes off real well. And more important, he is a storyteller, and that has that voice. You know, I struggle with that sometimes, and always have been, always have, and always will, even in my own gaming experiences. So, how has gaming changed me? I can only ask myself, was how different would my life been if I hadn't involved in gaming? Would I have gone down a much darker path and spent more damage to other people? Maybe I'd have gone and followed my family's footsteps and gone into the military. I tried, but physically speaking, even back then, I still had issues with weight, and in the 80s, they were very, very, very picky about who they took and who they didn't take. And when they shot me down, I turned to drugs. I'll just be straight up on that, and it led me into some unhealthy environments. But because of my connection to the gaming hobby and my desire to keep that a separate world, I didn't hang out with my gaming druggy buddies. You know, there weren't any. I'm just saying, you didn't sit around the gaming table doing lines of coke back in the 80s. Not at least in any gaming environment I was ever in. And I'm just using that as an example, right? Okay, so it probably saved me to some degree, and it saved my sanity in later years when I had to deal with stuff, and I had to come to grips with reality and accept it. It still gave me an out. It still gave me a means to be socially active, if you will. I didn't completely regress into my own little closet. I didn't close the door of the world, didn't shut the world out completely. Sadly, you know, I can't say it was always a good thing. There were some downsides. There's always some dark sides to this hobby, and it can become. I've seen people become obsessed. I've seen too many people latch onto these absolutes. It's my way or the highway, and I don't care what your hobby is. I don't care what your interests are. If your work ethics, your personal life. That's the same kind of mindset, those absolutes that you latch onto for everything else in your life, you might have a rougher road than I have, you know, and you may not be open-minded enough or open-eyed. Your eyes might not be open enough to see that. We're back to that, not talking about you, talking about me, how the games have changed me, how gaming has changed me. In the last few years, it's opened a lot of avenues, if you will. In one aspect, it's got me to become more involved or reinvested my interest in the hobby. There was a while there that I just kind of shut everything out, and it wasn't necessarily a good period of time. And this stuff is starting to pry myself out, and I'm looking forward to the day that I can have a permanent physical address and reestablish a gaming group of my own, and hopefully, and if not today, tomorrow, not now, next year, it'll come. Maybe it'll be online, maybe it'll be at the physical table, I don't know. I look forward to doing more videos and becoming a little more sophisticated in them over time. I am looking at options for video enhancements and doing some limited picture shots and things like that, but all that takes time. It does. I can only imagine how much effort and time some of these really elaborate videos take in the editing area of things. And it's implied that some of these people actually have teams of people. More than one or two people are working on projects to make them look as good as they do. And that's probably one of the reasons they look as good as they do. You know, good or bad, that's the way it is. Well, here comes my customer. Time for me to get on with my job and move on to the next question, right?